I stood at the entrance of the stadium in my graduation gown, trying to steady my breathing. This was supposed to be the biggest day of my life. My parents walked toward me without a smile, without a hug, without a single word of pride. My father leaned in and said, "Don't make this day about you. Sit in the back where no one can see you." My sister Sierra smirked and added, "You didn't even earn a real seat. Just stay out of the way." I swallowed the pain because that was all I ever learned to do around them. What none of them knew was that today was not going to go the way they planned. Someone at this school saw me differently, and in a few minutes, the entire room would turn to look at me. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. My name is Kaylin Rhodes, and I spent most of my life feeling like a shadow in my own family. I worked 2 part-time jobs through college. I won scholarships. I spent late nights in the library while my parents focused on Sierra, the younger daughter who always seemed to shine in their eyes. They paid for everything she wanted. They missed every award ceremony I had. They acted like my achievements were accidents or lucky breaks. Graduation day was supposed to be different. I imagined them proud for once. I imagined a family photo where I wasn't standing off to the side. Instead, they reminded me exactly where I stood. My mother took Sierra's arm and said she looked beautiful. My father didn't even look at me. When I tried to walk with them into the stadium, my dad stopped me and said, "This is front row seating. You can sit in the back. Your sister is sitting with us." I watched Sierra twirl her hair and laugh as she slid into the front row next to them. They didn't save a spot for me. They didn't even ask where I went or if I needed help. I walked to the back alone, holding my program like a shield. Families around me hugged their graduates and took pictures with proud tears in their eyes. I sat down quietly and told myself that I should be used to this feeling by now. But inside, something started to crack. I was tired of pretending it didn't hurt. I was tired of shrinking to make room for everyone else. Today was supposed to be my moment, and I refused to let it disappear. What I didn't know was that the dean had been watching my work for years and had prepared something no one in my family expected. When I reached the back row, I tried to distract myself by focusing on the stage decorations, the flowers lined neatly across the podium, and the excited chatter filling the stadium. But the truth pressed hard against my chest. I felt like the only person in the entire building who didn't have someone cheering for them. Every time I glanced toward the front, I could see my parents laughing with Sierra, as if this were her day, and not mine. They posed for photos, fixing Sierra's hair and adjusting her gown, even though she wasn't the one graduating. At one point, I saw my father tap a stranger on the shoulder and ask them to take a picture of the 3 of them. My mother didn't look in my direction once. Sierra caught my eye, raised her eyebrows, and mouthed, "Where you belong," before turning away. I forced myself to look down, gripping the edge of my chair until my fingers hurt. A woman sitting next to me leaned over and asked kindly, "Are you waiting for your family to join you?" I didn't know how to answer without sounding pathetic. After a short pause, I said, "They found seats up front. They wanted a better view." She gave me a sympathetic nod, and I hated that she could already sense something was wrong. I didn't want anyone feeling sorry for me today. As the ceremony time approached, graduates gathered in the aisle taking photos with their families. Parents hugged their children tight, whispering how proud they were. I watched a father kiss his daughter's forehead and tell her she made their whole family proud. Another mom held her son's face in her hands and told him he earned this moment. I felt something sharp twist inside me. I wanted that reassurance just once in my life. I wanted someone to look at me the way these parents looked at their children, with pride and love instead of annoyance and obligation. I glanced toward the front again. My family's body language told a clear story. My father sat comfortably, shoulders relaxed, completely unconcerned about my absence. My mother scrolled through her phone, probably posting photos of Sierra with captions about how proud she was. Sierra leaned back in her chair, smiling like the entire event was built around her importance. Not one of them turned around to check if I found a seat or if I was even still in the building. It was like I didn't exist unless they needed me to disappear. The worst part came moments before the processional began. Graduates around me began lining up in the aisle. As I stood, Sierra turned around in her seat and said loudly enough for people nearby to hear, "Kaylin, stay in the back. People might think you're trying to sit with us." Her voice carried across several rows. A few people looked at me with surprise, and then looked at her with confusion. She added, "She didn't really earn the front row. It's fine." My face burned as whispers started around us. My parents didn't correct her. My mother placed a hand on Sierra's shoulder as if she agreed. My father didn't even turn his head. I walked back to my spot slowly, fighting the sting in my chest. I asked myself how many times I had accepted moments like this. How many times I let them belittle me because I thought keeping the peace mattered more than standing up for myself. Something inside me shifted that moment. I felt the humiliation, but I also felt the first spark of something stronger. I was done letting them decide what I deserved. Just as the line began to move, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from the dean's assistant. "Please stay close to the aisle. Dr. Bennett will call you first." My heart jumped. Confusion mixed with a rising, unfamiliar hope. What was happening? Why would the dean call me first? The moment I read that message, the balance of the entire day began to change. The moment I read the dean's assistant's message, the noise of the stadium seemed to fade. My heart hammered in my chest as the words replayed in my mind. "Dr. Bennett will call you first." I had no idea what that meant, but something told me it was important. I stepped slightly out of the row, trying to keep close to the aisle without drawing attention. My family finally noticed me moving and reacted exactly how I expected. My father snapped, "Where do you think you're going?" His voice was sharp, the kind he used whenever he felt someone was stepping out of line. "I need to be by the aisle," I answered, keeping my voice steady. Sierra twisted in her chair with an exaggerated sigh and said, "Seriously, Kaylin, stop trying to get attention. You look desperate." My mother added, "Sit down and follow instructions like everyone else. This is not about you." Their words hit me like they always did, but something inside me refused to shrink this time. I straightened my shoulders and said quietly but firmly, "I'm supposed to stand here." It wasn't a request. It wasn't an apology. It was the first time I pushed back without fear. Sierra rolled her eyes dramatically, and my father muttered something under his breath, but I didn't break eye contact. For the first time in my life, I didn't move the way they wanted me to. The ceremony music started, and the graduates began walking in. I watched the faculty take their places on the stage, including Dr. Bennett. He scanned the crowd of graduates lining up and gave a small nod when he saw me by the aisle. My stomach flipped. Something significant was about to happen, and whatever it was, my family had absolutely no idea. As the students filed into their seats, I could hear my parents whispering, trying to guess why I was standing near the front row. My mother said, "She probably misread something." Sierra responded with a smug laugh. "Or maybe she thinks the dean is going to congratulate her personally." They all laughed quietly, fully convinced I was embarrassing myself again. But instead of shrinking back, I held my position. For once, I didn't second-guess myself. I didn't apologize. I didn't defend my worth. I just stood there and waited. When the dean stepped up to the microphone, the stadium fell silent. He began with a speech about perseverance and the students who overcame personal challenges to reach graduation. As he spoke, his eyes found mine again. With every sentence, my chest tightened. The way he described this student sounded painfully familiar. Long nights, financial stress, working, multiple jobs, achieving academic excellence with no family support. My hands began to tremble as I realized he wasn't speaking in general terms. He was talking about me. My family didn't recognize the story at all. Sierra was already bored. My father looked down at the program. My mother fixed her hair. None of them expected what was coming. Then the dean said, in a clear, strong voice, "Our first honoree is a student whose dedication and resilience represent the heart of this university." I felt the world tilt. Everything I feared, everything I endured, everything they dismissed, was about to be brought into the light. The dean paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words settle over the stadium. Then he said, "Please help me honor a student who showed exceptional strength, unmatched work ethic, and consistent excellence. A student who achieved all of this without the support many of us take for granted." His voice rose slightly as he continued, "Our first award recipient is Kaylin Rhodes." Everything around me froze. I heard the words, but my mind struggled to catch up. There was a split second of stunned silence, like the entire stadium inhaled at the same time. Then, the applause erupted. It wasn't polite or hesitant. It was loud and proud and overwhelming. Hundreds of people stood and clapped, cheering for someone they didn't even know personally, but admired through the dean's words. I felt my breath catch as I stepped forward. My legs trembled, not from fear, but from the shock of finally being seen. As I walked past the front row, I saw my family's faces change in real time. Sierra's mouth opened slightly, as if she couldn't understand what she was seeing. My mother blinked hard, confused and annoyed at the same time. My father looked like someone had pulled the ground out from under him. For once, they were the silent ones. I continued up the steps to the stage, feeling lighter with each step. The dean met me with a warm smile and said, "You earned this, every bit of it." He handed me a medal and a plaque. The applause grew even louder. Cameras flashed. Students cheered my name. All the moments I had spent invisible suddenly collided into this single moment of recognition. The dean then added something that struck the entire stadium again. "This student has also been awarded our university's highest graduate scholarship. It is given only to those who show remarkable determination and make a lasting impact on campus." My breath hitched. I had applied, but I never imagined I would win. The dean continued, "She did all of this on her own effort, with no advantages, no shortcuts, just heart and perseverance." I glanced toward my family. Sierra stared at me with disbelief and something darker beneath it. My parents looked pale, their prideful front shattered in front of hundreds of witnesses. For years, they brushed aside everything I achieved, convinced I was beneath Sierra. Now they were forced to watch the truth unfold on a stage they thought I didn't deserve. Standing under the bright stadium lights, with the applause washing over me, I realized something important. I didn't need their pride to validate my worth. I had earned my place here through grit and sacrifice. I had built a future they couldn't take credit for, and for the first time in my life, I felt powerful. The dean invited me to say a few words. When I turned toward the microphone, the stadium fell silent again. I didn't speak out of anger or hurt. I spoke from a place of strength I never knew I had, and every word I said that day changed the way I saw myself forever. When I stepped away from the microphone, the applause rose again, even louder than before. It echoed through the entire stadium, filling a space inside me that had been empty for years. As I walked down the steps, students I barely knew reached out to congratulate me. Professors smiled proudly and nodded as I passed. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. My family stayed seated, stiff and awkward, unsure how to respond. They looked out of place in the front row now, as if the roles had been reversed. I walked toward them, not out of obligation, but out of closure. My mother stood first, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Kaylin, you should have told us about all this," she said, trying to sound supportive. I answered calmly, "I tried. You just never wanted to listen." My father cleared his throat and said, "We are proud of you." His voice lacked conviction, and for the first time, I didn't crave his approval. I simply nodded. Sierra stepped forward next. Her confident attitude was gone. She looked almost uncertain. "I didn't know you worked that hard," she said quietly. "You never asked," I replied. There was no anger in my voice, only truth. I didn't stay long. I didn't need a fake apology or a forced family photo. Instead, I walked toward the dean, who congratulated me again and encouraged me to pursue the graduate opportunities ahead. In that moment, I realized I wasn't alone. I had built a life outside the walls my family tried to keep me in. Later that night, when I hung the medal on my wall and placed the scholarship letter beside it, I felt something new settle inside me. Confidence, peace, independence. This day wasn't just about recognition. It was the moment I stopped fighting for a place in a family that refused to see me. My story began with humiliation, but it didn't end there. It ended with strength. And it reminded me that sometimes the people who underestimate you are the ones who fear your success the most. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. Your support means a lot, and I'd love to know which part of the world you're listening from.